welcome everybody. We've got our very own Janet Patterson here tonight. And I'm going to give her most of the evening. But let me just give you the quick rundown on what we're doing. Tonight is Queens. We have a Zoom call, so we're going to take questions from those folks as well. And don't forget, the swarm list is included in your membership. Separate sign in if you have trouble, give me a call. Bee Buddy program, bee days at the apiary, that'll start soon and Janet will keep us informed. The library is going strong. Katie's got an Instagram now with all the stuff that's in there. And then equipment rental, we're getting stuff donated to us all the time. So we've got plenty of stuff. This is news from Laura, our vice president. The Honey Bar is about to open at the American Beekeeper Association Conference in Mobile. There's Oregon represented. That's from this morning. So it's the only West Coast, only honey representing Oregon.
Wow.
So she's visiting her dad. So, and then upcoming events, Bee School, February 28th at Tabor Space. And Gather and Blather every month at Paladins League. And that's a whole different group of people for conversation. So it's really fun. Come, and there's even bee games we can play there. So over to you, Jana.
Can you remember one side of the evening?
Oh, you mean apiary days?
Yeah. There.
Learning apiary.
Okay. So I'll just give a plug for the learning apiary before I start my actual presentation. Probably, as in everything with these, it depends on the weather. But we will start our learning apiary probably like February, early March, something like that. We meet first and third Sundays of the month. In the beginning of the spring, when it's colder, we meet 11 to 1. And it's everything you need to know about bees. If you're brand new, we'll teach you how to pop open a hive, light a smoker, use a hive tool, find a queen. If you are more experienced, we're gonna get you more experience with things like nuances of mite treatments, splits, queen rearing, troubleshooting problems, looking for disease, making decisions, and then following through and seeing how those decisions impacted the colony. So there's something for everybody out there. We strive to make it really for anything from beginner to advanced, and I've got some wonderful helpers that we split up and get you in really small groups. So if you want to come out to the learning apiary anytime, please do. And if you want to on this email list, I have a specific email list just for the apiary. Give me your email here and I will let you know when we are going to get started because it's split. Okay. So what you're all here to learn about is queens and queen rearing. And so queen bee biology. So what we have to start with is before we can learn how to raise queens, we need to understand how the bees raise queens, because we aren't actually, we only have the tiniest little bit of control over it. We have to work with the bees and their biology. So we're going to get a little bit of a biology lesson here first. And I usually like to be pretty interactive. So if something I'm saying doesn't make sense, please ask me in the moment, because things are going to build in this talk. And I don't want you to be lost in the first 5 minutes and not understand what happens, in the 33. Okay. Okay. So great. Okay. So why do bees raise queens? Why would they do it? Does anyone have any ideas of why they would raise a queen to start with? Survival, right? Colonies have to have a queen or they cannot survive. Okay. Does anybody know a situation in which they would want to raise a queen? What would prompt the bees to raise a queen? The old queen's not doing her thing for whatever reason. Overcrowding. Queen dies. Queen dies. Those are the 3 reasons. We lose a queen, the queen starts failing, or it's time to expand and make a new colony. Okay, so the B terms for those are emergency queen raising, if the queen suddenly dies, we accidentally squish her when we're doing the queen, right? Supersedure is what Brian was saying, when the queen's health is declining, she's getting old, she got sick, something like that. Or swarming when they're overcrowded and they need to make a new colony. Those are the terms that we use. Okay, next. Okay, so what I want to talk about is how do they make queens in each of these situations? Because it's slightly different how they go about making the queens. In an emergency, we squish her between the frames when we're doing our hive section. So, the bees didn't plan for that, right? Sudden death. They didn't have a plan. So all of a sudden, within about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, the queen pheromones have reduced enough that they know they don't have a queen. And so they start running around going, oh my gosh, we don't have a queen, we don't have a queen, we gotta do something about it. And so what they do is they go and they find young larvae. Has to be 3 days old or less. Okay. And then they find those larvae that were originally going to be workers. So this will not work with drones, because drones are male, workers are female. So they'll look, and you can see in this picture that they have found a bunch of cells that had tiny larvae in it. And they choose those, and then they start making queens out of it. And so where you're going to find emergency cells is typically going to be in the middle of a frame, because they were already going to be nurse bees. With me so far? Okay, so next one. Supersedure is a little bit different because the bees are planning for it. Okay, this is not an emergency situation. So you can see how this cell looks a little different than the emergency cells. The emergency cells are coming out of a regular cell that you would normally see a worker bee in. Okay, but this one, the bees make a queen cup. How many of you have seen a queen cup just randomly in your hives, right? And have you ever wondered why those are there? They're there because they know that they may need to make a queen at some point, okay? So, the difference of this is that they have these queen cups, and when a queen is not functioning well, she will seek out the queen cups and she will lay an egg specifically in that queen cup, intending for it to become a queen from the moment she lays that egg. So it's a little slightly different than the emergency. The emergency cells and the queen supersedure cells look a lot the same when you're just looking in your hive, so it might be difficult to tell. But you'll know if you see a queen and a queen in a queen or larva in a queen cup, you'll know it's supersedure or swarming. Okay, so this is usually in the middle of the frames as well. Next. Swarming. So this is when the bees decide, oh my gosh, we're running out of room, we're gonna have to split. This is what is real true honeybee reproduction. The queen laying eggs within her own colony is what we think of as reproduction, but it's not true reproduction. True reproduction is that expansion of genetics. Okay, so it's when they're like, ooh, we're out of space, we're gonna leave a queen behind in this one, and we're gonna, the old queen and some of us are gonna go off and make a new colony over here. And then this new queen is going to start off with new genetics. It's going to have a new genetic infusion going on. So this is, again, the bees plan for this. Okay, emergency is the only one where they don't have the plan. So they intentionally build queen cups, typically along the bottom, but they can be anywhere on the face of the frame. They can be anywhere in the hive, your swarm cells, but usually they're on the bottom. And the bees maybe queen cups, the queen intentionally lays eggs intending for them to become queens. And then, once those get capped off, the swarming step happens, and then you got your queens emerging.
Same egg on all of them. They don't have any differentiations in the eggs or the,
No.
okay.
So we're gonna get to what makes a queen in just a second. That's a good question that's coming up. Okay, Here's,
In this particular situation, will they make several or just?
yes,
Okay,
when they are going to swarm, they typically make lots and lots and lots. Okay, sometimes in an emergency situation, they'll only make one or two because that's the only resources they have available. Super procedure, there's usually just a handful, a few. Swarm cells, it might be anywhere from 3 to 5 to, I mean, I've seen 15 in a colony before, so. People that have seen me at the apiary say it all the time, it depends. It just depends on the bees. I mean, it's like, it just depends on what they want to do. Depends on what resources they have available. And so, yes, but when they lay the eggs, it's the same exact female egg that they would lay in all. Other questions so far? Okay, great. Excellent. Okay, what does it take to become a queen? Okay, so what we're doing here is, the queen lays two kinds of eggs, okay? Drone eggs are unfertilized, so drones are 100% genetic material of the queen. Okay, this is how we pass those good queen genetics on to other colonies, is via those drones who are 100% her genetic material. The female eggs are destined, most of it, 99% of the time, they're destined to become workers. Okay. But those are fertilized. So those are a combination of the queen's DNA and random drone DNA. Okay. All of those start out the same. They're an egg for 3 days. On the third day, a larva emerges from that egg. And then all larvae, regardless of it's a worker, a queen, or a drone, they're always fed royal jelly for the first 3 days of their larval life. Okay. The difference between a worker and a queen is simply what she is fed after day 3. Okay, so after day 3, if you're going to become a worker, you're going to get fed a combo of bee bread, and honey and some royal jelly from the hypothermic stove. If you're going to be a queen, your entire life, the only thing you're going to eat is royal jelly. That's it. From the time, right. So from the time they are that 1-day-old larva to the day she dies, the only thing the queen eats is royal jelly. And so the royal jelly, the makeup of that develops the queen's reproductive system more than it does the worker bee reproductive system. Make sense? Okay, so this is why when I said at the beginning, when there's an emergency, the bees seek out those very young larvae to make a queen, because if they don't have any larva that's 3 days old or less, they cannot make a queen. As soon as they have fed a worker larva, anything other than royal jelly, it cannot become a queen biologically. So they're out of luck if they don't have young enough larvae. Okay, and that's really going to be something you're going to keep in mind when we'll talk about brat food too. Okay, questions about this?
Yes, I just want to clarify. So in a emergency situation, they can't use an egg.
They do not use an egg. They use those larvae. So it's an egg for 3 days, and then the first 3 days of its larval life is when they make that decision of whether it's going to be a queen or a worker. And so really, in fact, I guess it's day 4, because day 4, they're either going to continue feeding it royal jelly and have it be a queen, or they're going to start feeding it like bee bread and stuff.
But if the queen lays the egg, obviously.
If the queen lays an egg in a
In
queen,
a queen.
if she lays it in a queen cup, yes. And the bees know, oh, this is a special cell, the queen put an egg in here. We're gonna make sure that this gets only fed royal jelly. So yes, in supersedure and in swarming situations where the queen has intentionally laid an egg in a queen cup, the worker bee, the nurse bees know, oh, we have to only feed this one with this. It's a good question. Other questions?
I thought that the size of the cell was determined by the worker bees. And so that they were sort of effectively the ones who were determining whether or not it should be a queen cell or a drone cell. Or what it is.
Yes, yes, you are right.
So
in
it's
that.
not the queen who decides,
The
oh,
queen-
I need to be super.
No,
The rest of the colony who decides our queen is on the way out, we need to.
yes, and they'll start making those queen cups and they'll shepherd her over to the queen cups and,
Forcers,
yeah, yeah.
Very
Um,
nice.
I've also heard, and I don't know if there's science behind this or not, but I've also heard that the bees can transfer an egg from a regular cell into a queen.
Oh,
cup.
wow.
So if the queen isn't, if she's
Doesn't
failing and
work.
she's not. The other thing is if she hasn't, in supersedure, if she hasn't, laid an egg in a queen cup. And sometimes some colonies, I mean, I have colonies that I've like never seen them build a queen cup, right? You know, and some colonies have queen cups all over them, just that are empty. They're just there for, just in case, right? So, they can do it and they can do it in a worker cell too, just, and it'll look more like the emergency one. So they can do supersedure in a regular cell as well. But you are correct. The bees, the worker bee, everyone thinks the queen is like the matriarch, makes all the decisions and all that, and it's really not that way. There's a great book by Thomas Seeley called Honeybee Democracy. If you really want to get into that, it's super interesting book about how bees really come to consensus about things, and it's really the female worker bees that are making the decisions and pushing the queen around. The queen pheromones, they'll hold everybody together and keep everybody working together as a unit. So without that queen laying eggs and producing the pheromones, we're out of luck. But yes, so what the queen will do is she'll go in and she sticks her head into the cell first and kind of sticks her front legs around and measures the cell and says, oh, this is a worker size cell. I better lay a fertilized egg. Or, oh, this is a bigger one. I better lay a drone egg. And so, in that sense, yes, the workers do determine how many drone cells are going to be and how many worker cells are going to be in the colony. Oh, sorry.
And the thing about moving the eggs, and I thought about that quite a bit, why would they move it? They're already in a cell.
Yeah.
They wouldn't use a drone.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Janet?
make any sense, because they're just
Yeah.
gonna build the queen
I don't know,
cell
yeah.
up the.
Right, yeah.
Hey,
I
Janet,
was
couldn't,
wondering about that, because otherwise, why wouldn't they move the eggs into the queen cups?
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that, but like I said, I don't know if there's science behind knowing if that.
You know, I've only seen references, to it. I've never seen.
Yeah.
Because
I'm like you. I don't
Yeah.
see why they would possibly spend the effort doing it when they can.
If they're already loaded with royal jelly.
even if they're not, if it's even if they're just a tiny bit there, the
They can
structure is
load,
already
they can
there.
load it up, they can load up a regular cell and throw it up.
Right, and they're just gonna build this unit on top of it.
Right. Right.
They don't tear it down and then we.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Janet, can you repeat the questions for the Zoom?
Oh,
Folks.
I'm sorry. Yes, I will do that. Okay, any more questions about this? Any questions on Zoom about this?
No, so far, we're good.
I'm sorry, there's a question back there.
How does the queen control whether she's?
Great question. The question is how does the queen determine if she's going to lay a fertilized egg or an unfertilized egg? And that is like a super deep biology question that I'm not completely prepared to answer tonight. I can tell you that the queen has special organ in her reproductive, that she's got her ovaries, which you would imagine that they have, but then the queen bees have an organ called a spermatheca. And that is when she mates with all the drones that she mates with. All that sperm gets stored in the spermatheca, And then somehow. I don't know if it's a muscle thing or I'm not sure exactly how she decides to release the sperm to fertilize the egg. I don't know exactly the biology. So I can't answer that fully. Other questions? Okay, cool. That's, you didn't move on. Okay, great. So this is kind of the queen development. So on day 1, our egg is laid. Okay, day 3, the larva emerges from that egg. Okay, and this is all kind of approximate, it's, they don't all happen exactly to the minute. Day 8 to 9, that larva starts to pupate and the cell gets capped off. That's the same for workers and queens, okay? And just as an aside, when they're gonna swarm, this is when they swarm. Plus or minus 1 day of when they cap those swarm cells. So if you open your colony and you see a whole bunch of capped swarm cells along the bottoms of your frames, too late, can't do anything about it, they're already doing it, they're probably either already gone or they're about to leave and you can't stop it. Day 14 is the ideal time when we get to the rearing part for us to move that queen cell. Before this, does anyone know what happens when bees pupate? Do people know what happens when caterpillars pupate and metamorphosize into butterflies? Can you picture that? You got a caterpillar, they spin into cocoon, they liquefy, and they turn into a butterfly. Same kind of thing with bees, okay? So in this time in here, when they're capped off and they've spun their little cocoon around themselves and they're all kind of like liquid gooey stuff, if you start moving them and shaking them and prying off the cells and moving them around to other places, jostling them around in your car, your bee may not develop properly because so you want to wait until day 14 to move those. Day 16, the queen emerges, which is much sooner than when a worker or a drone emerges. Questions about the timeline?
What is, sorry, what is
Oh,
the day that the drone emerges? 21?
21 for workers and 24 for drones.
Talk about that big 14. That's very.
That's just, this is just a, it's a preview kind of. So like say we've grafted a bunch of queen cells. And we want, like say I have like a frame of, 40 or whatever queens hanging here. I don't want all of my queens to hatch out on this frame in one hive because they're gonna kill each other and that was a whole bunch of wasted time, right? So I'm gonna wanna remove them on day 14 and put them in mating nukes, sell them to people, put them in my queenless colonies or whatever, but that's the ideal way to move them. Day 14 or 15. And dicey if you would from day 16, because they might be coming out. But they're developed enough by day 14 that you can go ahead and move them. Does that make sense? Without risking their.
There's a question
Oh,
here
go ahead.
from Andrea. Does the process happen when you start with a fresh nuke in the spring?
Does the queen rearing process start with a fresh nuke?
I think that's the question.
If you're buying a nuke from a commercial place, you should already have a queen in it, a mated queen, and so you shouldn't have to do any of this with a new one. But some people that have a lot of colonies will go through this process because they don't want as many colonies and they don't want their bees to swarm, so they'll go through this type of process to prevent their bees from swarming and then give a nukes away or sell a nukes or whatever. Don't know if that answered the question. If it didn't answer the question, ask it again and I'll.
No. Will the making of a new queen happen causing a swarm? That was the question.
Just the making of a new queen in and of itself, like if we're forcing the raising, no, it won't necessarily cause a swarm. Other conditions have to be present for them to want to swarm. They have to be overcrowded and the queen has to be running out of space to lay eggs and stuff like that. So just us forcing, queen raising should not cause a swarm. I mean, I'll never say never. I won't promise you it would never cause a swarm. Cause you know, bees are a living thing unto themselves, but it shouldn't.
Is it more likely to cause dead queens?
Is it likely?
Is it more likely that the old queen would then pull in queens as they emerge?
I mean, if you allow the old queen, the original queen, to be with the new queens, yes, absolutely.
So if you're not planning this, and you have queen cells that emerge, queens that emerge from queen cells, they will.
No, no,
That's,
no.
the new queen is not likely to kill the old queen, it's the other way.
It could go either way.
Okay.
I mean, you know,
Depends.
it's, if they duke it out, whoever's the best wins, right? So, Gil,
Yeah, if you're grafting and you pull an egg that happens to be 36 hours old. How do you know when day 14 is?
yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
Second
Yeah.
answer?
Yeah. Yeah, so what I do, and we'll get to this a little bit later too, but I'll go ahead and answer it now. So the question for Zoom was, how do you know when it's day 14? Because do you know if it's a 3-day-old egg or a 4-day-old egg and whatever, and it's really hard to tell the difference between a 3 and a 4-day-old egg. And so, I like to, about the time when I think that it could be getting capped off, I look and I see, are they capped today? No, they're not really capped today. And I look tomorrow, oh, they're capped today. Okay, this is either day 8 or day 9. Okay, and then I have a really good idea of when that day 14 should be.
Do you look at them every day?
Not every day. I wait until I think it's about day 8 or 9, and then I leave them be until I think it's day 14. The more you disturb the bees, the more it sets them back, the more they get, you know, and you just, once they're capped off, the workers don't have to do anything with them, so it's less risky. But you don't want to bug them enough that they just abandon those, feeding those larvae. For sure.
I was just gonna point out that you sometimes get 2 queens in the same hive. They don't kill each other, and the last I heard, it's 20%.
Yeah, it's not very frequent, and it's usually a mother-daughter, and it usually happens more like supersedure. It's relatively common that the mother-daughter will co-survive until the old or sick queen dies. And then the new one takes over, so sometimes you'll have that overlap in there. It's not typical though, especially if you're raising queens, or if you think you have a queenless colony and you throw a new queen in there, and then you're like, whoa, wait a minute, they weren't queenless, and you know, they'll usually, most of the, vast majority of the time, they'll leave it out to those listeners.
On that, wouldn't it not kill it if she's losing her pheromone, that should not be doing optimal pheromone? So don't they target each other off with pheromones?
They do, yeah.
So it should, if your pheromone is waning, you may not probably.
Yeah, she may not draw the attention as much, but they still. And if the queen doesn't, if the other queen doesn't kill the other queen, in general, the bees don't have 2 queens, so they will usually take care of whoever's the old and weak one, they'll involve her in. Usually, but I like to say usually, or it depends a lot, because that's just the way it is bees.
You know what the structure of the eggs is? So like thinking of like chickens. If you've ever seen if you've ever opened up a chicken, you see the eggs are tiny little yolks, so they're just little balls. And they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Once they hit a certain size, then you get the membrane. And I'm not sure at what point in time the fertilization happens, but the reprorations, the sperm. But the bee actually has the sperm inside. So what's the egg structure like before it's deposited? Does it change structure after? Does it, in other words, does it soften if it's hard before
It does not get hard. The question is what is the structure of an egg? Is it like a chicken egg where it starts soft and then it gets hard and the yolk changes and all that? It's not like a chicken egg. I don't know 100% how to answer that question, but I do know that it doesn't get a shell. And we don't say that the larva hatches. They don't actually hatch. It doesn't like break open like a chicken egg breaks open. It's just that larva emerges from it. And it's, yeah, it's not. Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, cause I'm wondering if, cause at what point in time does the sperm get applied to the, like,
Yeah, I don't know.
inside?
I will endeavor to find that out. and see.
So never mind, process.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never seen anything about that. I'm imagining it happens inside the queen's body. Because all over it talks about her releasing a fertilized or a non-fertilized egg, so I'm thinking that all that happens within her body and then she releases that.
How long does it take to develop and stuff?
But once the queen lays the egg does enlarge, doesn't it? Is it the same size?
No, it's pretty much the same size, so, and the way you can kind of tell how old the egg is when the queen, if the queen is not a brand new queen, the first few eggs she lays can be really wonky, but in general, once she's prolific at it, that egg, you know, they're kind of like long, like pieces of rice, and so they stand up. And I've got some pictures later on, so that when I show you about grafting, you can kind of tell that typically they're straight up and down in the center of the cell, and then as they get closer and closer to that larval stage, they start laying down. And if you see an egg that's laying flat, you know it's just about to be a flat.
So you're talking, I mean, maybe we can discuss it. But during this process, at what point have you taken the queen up? Moved it from where the bees created it to.
Yeah, we'll go through that in a minute. That's a really complicated question, and there's a whole bunch of answers to that, so I will answer that in a minute. And are we all on the same page for how do the bees do this on their own without us? Okay, that's why I wanted you to understand that whole process, but what do the bees do? What's natural to them? How do they do it? Why do they do it? And then we come in and we take advantage of knowing that. And we start forcing the situation to get queens because we need them. Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh, was there more questions on Zoom?
Nope, we're good.
Okay, so queen mating, okay, so after you have done the grafting or after the swarm cells hatch or whatever, that queen has to get mated. Okay, she has to get mated within the first 3 weeks of her life, or she cannot physically mate. So the timing is super important. Okay, it takes her 3-ish days to be able to fly. She can fly immediately upon emerging. The mating typically happens within that first week. Usually they separate, but that's really weather dependent. Especially when we have those early swarms. You know, the bees don't have the weather forecast like we do, and so, you know, they just have to hope that they can get out within those 3 weeks. The queens mate with multiple drones from other colonies. That is super important to know. They will never mate with the drones from their own colony. They don't mate with it because why? Can you figure out why? Because I already told you what the drones are.
Same genetics.
They're exactly the same genetics as her. So there's no point in her mating with drones from her own colony. Okay, so she mates with lots and lots of drones from other colonies and stores all that sperm. That's all the sperm on these mating flights. They take a few mating flights on those and within that mating window, and then she will never mate again. Okay, stores if she runs out of sperm in her lifetime because she didn't mate well enough, too bad, she's gonna get superseded. Okay. So then when all the mating flights are done, she'll start laying eggs 2 to 5-ish days, sometimes 7 days. After all of her mating is done, because that mating process is what stimulates her ovaries to develop. How many of you have ever seen a virgin queen? So So they look like a queen body, but they're smaller, right? And So they're smaller because the ovaries haven't developed. And so that mating process stimulates the hormones and the ovaries develop and that long abdomen that we it's characteristic of the queen develops because of the ovary development. Oh, I already said she has to do about 2 weeks. Questions about the mating process? Okay,
Actually, oh, in my photo, which is the queen.
oh, this one is the queen, and this one's the male. Good question. Okay. So considerations, no matter which of, we're gonna, in a minute, we're gonna start getting into all the different ways that you can make queens. Okay, there's lots of them. But I can't even touch on all of them tonight. But there's certain considerations that you have to take into account, regardless of what method, what specific method you're gonna use that we're gonna get into, okay? Okay, time of year. Spring and summer is the best. Right now, terrible time to try to make queens, right? So food has to be plentiful. Okay, the biggest reason for that is because those really young nurse bees have to eat a lot to be able to produce royal jelly in their hypopharyngeal glands. Okay, if they don't have enough food, they can't produce royal jelly, they can't make queens effectively. So you have to have a lot of food available for them. Drones have to be present in large numbers throughout the community. Okay, because you don't want your newly developed queens to not have any drones to mate with. Like, so that's, one of the reasons right now would be terrible to start making queens because no drones for her to mate with. Weather's terrible. She can't get out and mate anyway, right? So we have to have weather conducive to the mating flights. Spring and summer, especially spring, helps us take advantage of the bee's natural instinct to swarm. Okay, overcrowding conditions, the population is starting to boom. And so then we take advantage of them, thinking it's time to start producing queens. When we want to start doing queens, it's great for us to do it when the bees don't start doing it. And if we do it early enough, it also allows them to have time to get through the queen making process because they put a lot of resources into making those queens. But then we still want them to have enough time to make their winter stores and whatever so that they can make it through the next queen. No point in making queens if you lose your colony. Okay, next. Your colonies. You're gonna need colonies that are strong colonies. You can't just take like, you don't want to take like a 5-frame newt and try to use that as a queen building colony. It's just not, I mean, is it possible? Sure, it's possible. It's just not gonna be really super successful. You want strong crowded colonies. Those are the conditions in which bees want to raise queens, right? You mean lots and lots of nurse bees that are young, 6 to 12-day-old female worker bees are the ones that have the most active hypopharyngeal glands. And hypopharyngeal glands is where the royal jelly is produced. And so have to have the royal jelly. So you have to have lots of young nurse bees. So another reason why right now, February, early March, not a good time. We don't have young nurse bees, right? All of our bees are new from the fall, right? So they're too old to be producing a lot of good royal jelly pods. They can still produce some because we've got to start producing those new babies in the spring, but they aren't going to be prolific like the young ones. We have lots of resources available, like we said, so that they can, those nurse bees have enough proteins and stuff to be able to produce the royal jelly. Okay, yes. Terms that you need to know. I want you to know when I start talking about different things, when we start talking about the different methods, what I'm talking about. And if you don't remember, just stop me if I use a term that you don't understand, because beekeeping is a lot of terminology and I don't want you to be sitting there wondering what it is I'm talking about. So please stop me if you if I missed something. A breeder colony. When we talk about a breeder colony, we're talking about this colony whose queen traits that we want to replicate. We might want to replicate brood production. We might want to replicate reduced swarming, or for some people, extra swarming. You might want to be looking for prolific honey producers. So whatever the trait is that you are looking for to make a queen, that's coming from the breeding colony. So we call it breeder colony. A starter colony is versus in the starter colony might be the breeder colony, but they might be separate. Okay, so your starter colony is going to be a queenless colony that gets the queen cells started. Okay, that's the queen production role. A finisher colony, on the other hand, could be the same as your starter colony, but it might be different, depending on what method you use. But the finisher colony is the colony, it's usually queen right, tons of bees, bringing in lots of resources, lots of foragers, bringing in all the resources. That's a finisher colony. A cloak board is a special piece of equipment that I in particular like to use. It's not a requirement for doing queens, but it allows you to take a single colony like this and use it as a starter and a finisher. And I'll show you in a second how to use it. But a cloak board is simply like kind of a really big queen excluder with a solid metal tray. And this has not just the queen excluder, but it also has an entrance built into it. Okay, so I'll show you how to use that in a minute. When I use it to cloak board. Okay, a mating nute. A mating nute is just some kind of a box that you use to put your virgin queens in. One virgin queen per mating nute until she has taken her mating flight, she comes back, and we know that she reliably lives. And grafting refers to the process of us taking that, how old of larva can we use? 3 day old larva or younger. Grafting is the process of us taking that larva and moving it into an artificial cup for the process of making a bunch of queens. Okay, questions on the terms? Cool, next. Okay, so we're going to talk about non-grafting first. A lot of people think that you have to graft if you want to make queens. Not true. Tons of ways to make queens without grafting. So this one's called the Miller method. And it's a little bit funky. You have to do a little bit of manipulation with your frames. But you either, if you have frames where that don't have foundation, you can take a frame and cut out the wax. If you use foundation, you can cut the foundation into the triangles so that, and then you're going to end up having to glue it in because you're not going to have stuff on the bottom to hold it in. But the basic, or basically what you want is you want these triangles because it allows the bees to use that swarming instinct. We're going to overcrowd this colony, and it's going to cause them to lay a bunch of queen cell and swarm cells along all of those triangular edges. And so it makes it easy for you to come it through and grab queen cells. It uses their swarming and their emergency instinct to make queens. And if you want to make it easier for yourself to harvest at the end, or when they start drawing them out, you can remove, like if they put them too close together, you can remove some of the cells so that they're a little bit further apart, so it's easier for you to, you can just cut or break into this little part here and remove that stuff. Put it into your media, put it into your Pumice colony, give it to your friend.
So you can do that with a plastic foundation?
I mean, you're gonna have to, like, typically it's done with foundationless.
Wax.
Yeah, just like where they've built on the frame without foundation, but you could take your foundation and cut your foundation that way. You know, to look like this, but you're gonna have to glue it in that slot up here, because the way foundation sits in the frame normally, it's being held in at the top and the bottom,
Right.
and you're not gonna have a bottom. So, but you could just put a little bead of glue along that ridge inside there and glue your foundation up in there. So you can do that.
So plastic or wax foundation, either one.
Yeah.
Seems like it would be easier to use wax.
I think so.
Okay.
Do you want the foundation built out?
Hmm?
No. Do you want the foundation to be built out? Like I've got foundation from last year that's got comb all over
I
it.
mean, you can, you're just gonna have to cut it into this shape.
Okay.
I mean, I'm showing you methods that I wouldn't necessarily do. I'm just giving you lots of options. There's so many ways to keep these, and I want you to know lots of different ways. Personally, this seems like too much. I probably wouldn't do this one, but it is a method that lots of people use. So you're using swarming an emergency cell. Instincts for them, you're overcrowding that colony, and you're giving them a really convenient place to put the queen cells, basically. Okay. Let's go to the next one. This one's called the Hawkins method. And this is another one, like, this is like way too much monkeying around with messing with my hive box and everything that I probably didn't do this one either. But this one, you take a frame of super young larvae or eggs, okay? And you're going to, where these lines are, you're going to wrap those cells, whether they have larvae in them or capped pupa in them or eggs, you're gonna wrap them so that you have bigger spaces in between. We have lots of space for them to make these in between cells, right? Okay, much easier for you later. When you want to remove those if they are not near each other, okay? So you're gonna have this weird grid, and then you're going to this, and you're gonna, so I'm gonna, let's go to the next slide so I can show you. You're gonna lay it flat with that side that you prepared with the eggs and the young larvae. You're going to lay it that side down in your box, and this is why I said it's like too fiddly for me, because I don't want to like mess around with trying to build some kind of a frame. Keep to hold my. Just pretending this is a regular frame. I don't want to figure out how to hold this in here. Right? I mean, to me, that's just stupid. But the point is that you have these and young larvae that are ready to become queens here, spaced apart. Okay. Here, and now the bees are going to draw the queen cells out down this way. So again, super convenient and easy for you to come along later and remove those because they're hanging individually straight down and they're not, you know. And even better yet, if you do this with foundationless, if you don't put a foundation in there, because then it's really easy to cut through around and remove that without damaging the queen inside your cell. Okay. So this is the Hopkins method.
Are they more prone to drawing those out into queen cells just because of the orientation? Or is it just that
I
they, when they build them out, it's easier for you to
I
have
think
this
it's
done.
just because it's easier for you at the end. You know, if they're crowded and they have enough resources and they don't have a queen, they're gonna drop queen cells from somewhere. We're just trying to make it easy for us to harvest those queen cells, and. Okay. The next one is the NICOT method, and this is a little doodah, and unfortunately, I didn't get out to the apiary to grab Hub's one to show you, but it's this little teeny plastic box. And it's got a whole bunch of artificial, queen collectors. Okay. Got a whole bunch of these kind of cups. Yeah. And, I think it's like 100. And what you do is you put this in, again, you have to fiddle, you have to be a MacGyver. And frame. Stick it in your bee box, let the workers polish the little things and get them all ready. And, and then you trap the queen in them. Okay, so over the top of this, there's a little queen excluder lid kind of a thing that goes over this. So you trap the queen in there, the queen excluder, so the workers can come and go, feed her, feed the larva and whatever. And you're just having her lay directly into your little cups. Okay, and then when they're full, you can let the queen out so she can just continue laying in the box. And then you take all these little queen cups that she conveniently laid and you take them out and you attach them into your queen bar as if you have grafted. But she just conveniently lays them in there. Sorry. It's a great method. But some queens feel trapped and they don't want to lay eggs in there because it's too small and too confining. And so might work and it might not. Might work for this colony and not this colony that are right next to each other. So, yeah, it depends. So that's a method that you can try. Those NICOT boxes are like $20 or something, so it's not like a huge investment, if you want to try it. Okay, swarm cell method. So you could just manage your colony in the spring to try to get them to let them swarm. You gotta really be watching. And you have to know that they're probably going to swarm anyway. So you have to be okay with that. So you just let them do their natural swarm thing. They're gonna build out bunches of queen cells, more than they need. And you're gonna be watching as they're building these cells out. You're gonna say, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna take some of those queen cells and I'm going to parcel them out to my neighbors, to my friends, to my queenless colony, whatever. But the key here is that you must leave at least 2 queen cells behind, or else your colony is probably going to be in trouble. Because with this method, they are most likely going to swarm. And you don't want to leave them with no queen and no way to make a queen. You remember what day I told you that the swarm leaves in the queen making process is
Every day.
Day 8 or 9, yeah. And so, and the queen emerges on day 16. So we're talking 8 days of no egg laying going on in there. So at the end, if you take all their swarm cells and their queen has already left, they have no way of keeping it hidden. So you have to, unless you're going to take one of your queen cells that you took out of there for queen making, unless you want to put one back in, you have to leave some in there for them. That makes sense?
So that's like a good food for Varroa.
Yeah, and that's why some people let their bees swarm is for a brood break for Varroa. It is a method. You have a really long brood break, because, okay, so do you want to talk about that for a second?
I'm just thinking, you know, an 8-day break from brood being,
It's more than an 8-day break,
right, because then she's gotta go out and make.
because, so we said, so it's 8 days. Okay, where there's no queen in there,
Right.
and then how long did I say it takes for her to fly?
3 days.
3 days, so now we're at 11 days. And then how long is after she's done with her mating flights, which could take 2-3 days? So now we're at 14 days, and then it takes her another 3 to 5 minimum. So I mean, you're getting close to 3 to 4 weeks, and if the weather's crap,
Yeah.
you know, you could be talking a solid 4 weeks of a brood break. If you let them swamp.
How
And-
long
and
do you
that's-
need
Hmm?
If you're using it to take advantage of.
21 days. Because that's the cycle.
Yeah.
For the,
For the normal.
for the road.
Yep.
Yeah, and so,
I never thought about that, those two working together, but
totally,
Right.
yeah, and it's, you know, and is it right, is it wrong? It depends upon you wanna manage your bees. Right? Do you wanna put up swarm traps and you wanna watch? Or if you live in an area that's not super densely populated and it doesn't matter if they swarm? You know, if you're not like living next to an elementary school or something, you know, then, you know, it's totally fine. And, you know, honestly, sometimes they swarm anyway. I mean, I have a colony that last spring, I split that thing 3 times and they still swarmed. So I mean, like, I tried and I tried and I tried. But they were bound and determined to swarm anyway, so they just swarmed, so, you know. So, but yes, swarming can be good for queen raising and it can also be good for brood birds. And it's natural, that's just what these do.
it was fun to try to catch a scoop.
Swarm is super fun, don't get me started. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's fun. Yeah, you know, you were.
Yeah, was it your
high
house
cherry
Christmas?
trees. That one was not fun. Okay,
Janet, it's 8 o'clock, so
oh gee,
just for awareness.
yeah, okay. Splitting, so, how many people here are gonna split? Oh, good, okay, so you guys know what I'm gonna talk about. So splitting. Okay, so those of you who've done a split, tell me, which biological, process are we taking advantage of when we do a split?
It's a walkaway split emergency.
Emergency, right? So what we're gonna do with a split, for those of you who don't know what a split is, we're going to take one of our boxes of these. Say these are both really full. We're gonna take one of them. And we're gonna set it over here on another bottom board. We're gonna put another lid on it. And for a walkaway split, you don't even care which one the queen is in. She's either gonna be there or she's gonna be there, right? And if she's there, they're just gonna keep doing their thing. If she's there, she's gonna do her thing here, and whichever one doesn't have a queen is going to use the emergency thing and go, oh my gosh, we don't have a queen, we better start making a queen. Now, if you do a walk away, what's the one thing that you have to make sure that you have in both sides? You don't have to know where the queen is, but what do you have to know? You have to have either breedable larva, younger, or eggs. Eggs are fine too, they just can't do anything we're gonna tell us about. But you have to make sure that you leave eggs in both sides of that split. Or you have to know. And then this one that doesn't have the queen in it, they're gonna make a whole bunch of queens. And you're either just going to care about the one for making their split, or you're gonna be like, oh, look, they made 6 queens. I only need 1 in here. I'm gonna try to harvest the other 5. Yes,
I'm not done split, but I thought a lot about it. Is there an advantage at all to moving the queens so to not like a swarm? Maybe take the queen and make her leave behind.
yeah, you can do that for sure.
Do they go, oh, that was swarm?
The bigger thing is not necessarily like her physically moving to another place. It's more giving her enough space to lay eggs. Because it's when she runs out of space to lay eggs that the bees are like, oh, we're out of space. We gotta start thinking about moving. So if you move her, or if you leave her, either one,
Yeah, but that doesn't like.
just make sure that she's got enough space to lay eggs, and then they won't want them.
But it doesn't like.
In theory, they won't
Yeah,
want
it doesn't
them.
like mock swarm or something like that.
I mean, some people say it does. I don't really think it matters. I don't think the queen really knows if she's in this box or this one right next to her.
Yeah.
You know, I mean. The foragers know. Yeah, but the queen doesn't leave, so.
Can you do that splitting method? Some of the worker bees going out and coming in, how does that 3 feet, 3 mile rule affect, like, will they leave their new location and put 10 feet over there and also they're gonna come back?
Yep, they're all gonna come back to the original one, the foragers are. So, if you, the way to make that better. Is this new one that you've moved over to here. Turn it. So that the entrance is facing not the same direction as the. Okay, I realize it's real symmetrical, that doesn't really. You know, so have the entrance face the opposite way or sideways to it. Move them first thing in the morning before any foragers have come out, or at night after all the foragers have returned home. Okay, so all your foragers are in here, and then so like say this is our new colony. Okay, I'm gonna stuff a bunch of grass and twigs and all kinds of stuff in here. I'm not gonna completely block it off, but I'm going to make it very difficult for them to get out. So they have to come, they're gonna come out and they're gonna be like, what is going on here? They're gonna like work their way through this grass maze. And they're gonna be like, oh, I don't know where I am. Because I couldn't just come out. And then they reorient. And then we're likely to go back. Yeah, but you're still gonna lose foragers back to the original house. So you may have to keep pumping up the other one until.
Maybe I know it's tree fall, like back, you know, and
Yeah.
not someone you're like, oh, there's.
Right. The other thing that, you can do is if you have a friend. That's doing a split also, you guys just swap. You take Patrick's split, he takes your split, and they're not near each other anymore, so you still both got a split, but. The foragers are like, whoa,
Okay.
I'm too far away to know where I am, I better reorient.
So you're doing the stuffing of the stuff in the one that you move and turn
Yes.
around.
Yes.
Okay, you're pointing at this, I'm like. wait a
Oh, I
minute,
know,
That's
I know,
okay,
it's
it's okay.
I try to show the entrance, but.
I just
yeah,
wanna make
so-
sure I got it.
New one,
Yeah,
the one where
okay.
you want the foragers to reorient to the new place, it has to look different to them. Okay, alright, let's keep moving a little bit. Okay, so grafting, okay, this is probably what everybody's here for. Hopefully in the spring. I'll be able to have one another grafting class out of the apiary. Because I can't, it's not the time of the year for me to let me try grafting. And grafting is one of those things that you're just going to have to play with and try. Because I can tell you, you're looking for 3-day-old larvae or less. And it's hard to find those until you worked on finding them. And it's hard to do it until you check it out. Okay. So, my food box, I didn't look through it before I brought it, so I don't know if I have. Guess I don't have the, oh, I do have it. This is a grafting tool. This is a really super cheap, they're gonna pass some of these around, you guys can have them. They are super cheap. They come in like packs of 10 or whatever, and I'm gonna start one in each corner here. They have, one end has a really flexible tip on it, you can see, and one end has like a plunger like you would have on a shot. that flexible tip is meant for you to scoop the larva with a bunch of royal jelly up out of that cell and place it into one of your one of these artificial food cups. Okay, so that's that's all grafting means, is taking that larva, putting it in an artificial cup. Okay, let's, you have to make sure that you keep the larva in the same position, because they're laying there in their little C shape and they have a breathing tube sticking up. If you flip them over on top of their breathing tube, they can't breathe and they're done. Okay, so when you lift them up, you have to make sure you put them back down in the same orientation that you put them up in. After you've filled your bar, you're gonna stick it in your starter colony, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. But let's go to the next one. This is kind of what it looks like when you're scooping out. This is a handy little thing. It's on your resource page. And I'll bring it up with these. It's meant. You're gonna just have to use your imagination and pretend that this is the frame full of eggs and larvae. Okay, so it's just so it sits on the table. You can adjust the angle. You can adjust your lighting onto it, so it's easy for you to do the scooping of something. Okay, this is like bonus, right? This is, you don't have to have this. You can jerry rig something. You can hold it up against something. You can have it flat on the table. Doesn't matter. This is just a fun little thing.
You wouldn't shake all the beans off?
Yeah, you want to get all your bees off. And then you put it here and you can do your wrapping and put them in your bars.
Magnifying glass and bright lights.
Magnifying glass, bright lights, they're hard to see, they're hard to see. If they're not hard to see, then it's too big and it's too old, so, not good. But this is what they start looking like when the bees start drawing it out. After a couple of days, you'll be able to see them at this stage and you'll go, oh, look, those ones took. Or you'll be like, oh, well, all of these took, so, but if it didn't have anything on it, you'd be like, oh, that one didn't take. I flipped it over, I smushed it, the bees it was on the edge, the bees didn't bother taking care of it. Too old, whatever. So they'll start drying out these funky looking queen cells. And then they're really easy to pull out of your frame and move them into your nukes, to your split, into your friend, whatever. Okay,
And when do you think?
day 14, 15.
We just put them to.
Yeah. Okay, so which larva graph? Okay, so this, that's really hard to see from that there, isn't it? This egg is probably brand new. See how upright it is in that cell? And see how this one's starting to lean over? That one's probably a day old. This one's really leaned over. That one's probably 2-3 day old egg. Okay. These. Anybody have a guess as to whether we should graft these ones or not? No way, those are way too big to graft. They will not turn those into queens. Over here. Is this picture easy enough for you guys to see from back there, or is it too blurry? Yeah. Okay, this one's probably okay. That's probably, where is it? This one is probably fine. This one's pretty borderline. This one's pretty good. Too big. This one's okay. This one's okay. Go to the next one, because I think the next one's better. Okay, so definitely, this is about to keep it, so that's way too started. This frame here, though, you're gonna use one of those non-grafting methods. If you're gonna use splitting or the Hawkins or whatever method, this frame is fantastic. because you've got eggs that haven't turned to larvae yet. And you've got some really young, these are great ones right here to grab. Too big, too big, too big, too big, too big. This one's okay, okay. Really good, these ones are really good. Too good, borderline. So you can see that it doesn't take long for them to get to be too big to graft. And if you're not sure, the first time you do it, you know, graft some of those borderline ones and see what happens, right? A lot of beekeeping is trial and error, right? So, I highly recommend the first time you do it, you know this one's too big, but practice on the big one. It's a lot easier to scoop up those big ones. So practice on ones that are too big and it's okay. So just practice with how to use the tool, how to feel the tool and how to get underneath it. Scoop up that royal jelly too and how to get it back down in the same orientation. Like rotation wise, doesn't matter. It's just that moving tube side up or down that really matters. Okay. And I'm just gonna start like following along because we're already after meat, so I have to move longer. So creating the starter finisher colony. This is why I brought this set up because the clipboard is, I gave you some instructions on how to use the clipboard. How much time?
Uh, Until people,
Yeah.
I can mute Brian, so you're good.
And Liz doesn't.
And Liz,
Steve, do you want to see all the steps of using a clipboard? Because there's no point in me doing it. I mean, this is for you. So if you want to see it, I'll do it. If you don't care and you just want to follow the directions that I handed out to you, that's fine too.
How long is it gonna take you to go for it?
What's so many questions like that?
No
It depends. Everything depends. What?
No more questions.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so this is our colony. Pretend like this is actually a lid. And this is, you know, really great colony. Everything's bursting in it. In this method, I have to find the queen. Have to know where she is. And because I need to know what is the queen this side. So I'm gonna hunt around and for the purposes of making it easy, I'm gonna be like, oh, okay. My queen's down there. Okay. So. What I'm gonna do, can you pull up the other tab that I sent you with the directions? Because it gets really tricky and I wanna make sure I can do them all in the right order. So that I'm super. What you're gonna do is you're gonna leave the queen down here. You're gonna turn it around. Okay. So that it kind of messes with where the entrance is. Okay. You have, if your queen isn't already in the bottom box, you have to put it in the bottom box because it's easier for you to deal with your queen cells in the top box. Okay. Some people close this bottom entrance and some people leave it open. I've done it both ways, it works both ways, so whichever way. I'm gonna put the clipboard in, and I'm gonna put it in so that the entrance is facing where the regular entrance went. The reason for that is when all my foragers come back, they're gonna be like, oh, I can't get in, I can't get in. But they're gonna find this entrance before they find the one in the back. And if you close the one in the back, you can't find the one in the back in. So they're gonna come in here. That's gonna pack your top box. So now you're gonna put the queenless box back on top. Okay? So your top box is gonna get packed full of bees. Okay? And you're gonna make sure that you have at least 2 frames of open to up here. And the reason for that is because you want all the nurse bees You want all, if you have open rooms out here, they're not all gonna come up, but you want nurse bees to come up in here. Because remember, we need nurse bees, young nurse bees with hypopharyngeal glands to take care of our queen model. So you want some open brood up here. So now we've got nurse bees moving up. We've got foragers coming back into this one. This box is gonna get really full. Okay. And then we're going to, right before we're grafting, we're gonna put this in. And what do you think this does?
You sign your squeeze up and bottom.
Yeah, so now we've created two colonies. We have effectively separated, this is no longer one queen right colony, and a queen less colony. We've got a bunch of nurse bees trapped up here, we've got a bunch of foragers who are now oriented to coming back to here. This back is open now, if you closed it that first day, we open it after 24 hours, and so we still have foragers, because we still need bees taking care of some business down here, right? But we wanna make sure this is really happening. So you slide that in the day before you graft. You graft. You take your thing. Super important step that sometimes gets missed is, remember I said put open brood up here? You slide that tray in. Now to put in this colony, what do you think happened? The bees went, ah, and so they started making queen seed. Okay. So, if they make queen cells that you don't want because you were picking what queen you wanted to replicate, you get rid of the queen. If they built any queen cells, you get rid of them. Plus, these queen cells are further along, and those queens emerge, you're gonna come and you're gonna kill all the grafts. You're gonna take one of those frames out, you're gonna put this one in the middle, because it's the temperature will be more stable. And the bees will have an easier time to take care of it. Make sure you've got some resources up here. And then you close it back up. Wait a couple days, pull it out, see if they've drawn anything out. If they've drawn nothing out, something went wrong. Grafted too old, something happened, whatever. But if they've started drawing them out, just leave them there. You can pick again when you think it's gonna be about day 8 or 9, so you can start looking to see if they pop out. And then they're not likely all to be capped on the same day, because the odds choose dots all exactly the same age are not pretty slim. So this is now it was our starting colony, because we put this in here, hummus, right? Once they get going. You slide that a little bit. So once you grab it, you put this in, you come back the next day, keep diet to see if things are going okay, and then you can take this up. Because now they've already started the process, they know that there's queen cells there, they can take them. So it's okay for them to do. Okay. So now we move it. We'll let them be back into one thing. They're happy, they're doing their thing, they're making a bunch of queen cells. And then you're going to watch and get them out of here. The queen cannot, the old queen still can't get up. Remember that cohort has a queen spinner on it, so she can't get up to kill all of your cells. So you're okay. I will say that you should always check your equipment. Because if one of these is broken or bent or whatever, your queen could get up there. So just always check your equipment and make sure everything looks like it's in good shape. So this is a way to have one colony. If you don't have a ton of colonies, you can still queen them. Just takes one colony to be your starter and your finisher. And then it's super easy when you're done with when your queens come out and you distribute them, however you're gonna distribute them. Then all you do is you take this off. this back together. Put it back on. Back to one. And you can either, like, out of the apiary, I was too lazy to move it, they were already reoriented to this orientation, so I just left it for the season. But if you want to, for whatever reason, in your yard, if it works better or whatever, you can turn your entrance back around. Again, like we had that question earlier, I would either turn it around at night. Or first thing in the morning, so that your foragers come out and reorient. Because now they're gonna keep coming back. The reason this worked really well, when we switched it, was because we had another entrance for them right above their old entrance. And so if they came here, they were trying to get in and they couldn't, they could get into the closed entrance. If you switch this back around, you're gonna have a bunch of confused bees coming back here. So we'll just do it at night when they're already all in there. That's like the 5-minute version of the code board. A little bit more nuanced than that, you'll have all the time, so. I gave you these set of instructions, so you could just be like, oh, this is what I do each day, with the code board. Okay, let's go to the next. Okay, so now you got a new queen, you gotta get her mated. So there's lots of different kinds of mating boxes you can use. This is called a 2-frame nuke box. And called exactly that, 2 frames. So you put a frame of nurse bees in there. Gotta still have nurse bees to take care of the new queen because she can't eat on her own, so she's gotta get fed royal jelly. So you gotta put some nurse bees in there, you gotta put a frame of resources and just leave them until you think that queen's mated and you start checking after a week or 10 days and look to see if she's laying eggs. If she's laying eggs, you're golden, you can do whatever you want to do. Okay. Next. Yeah.
I mean, the nurse bees, is it because they're on a frame that has, what is that?
Yeah, so if you take a frame that's got open larva. All open larva has to be cared for by nurse bees. Okay, so the youngest nurse bees take care of the youngest larva because they've got the best royal jelly production. But those older larvae still have to get fed. So if you take a frame of open brood and put it in there. Or a mixed frame of open and capped brood into your mating nuke, you're okay. Just don't only put capped brood in because that's not necessarily gonna be their speaks.
Not be trying to do it with green cell to the other box. Like, you don't have to make them bring that many draw close.
Yeah, I mean, because for if you have so these come up. These are what they slide into these bars here. And so your queen cell will be attached to this. And this is where you're gonna put your larva. They're gonna draw it out. And you're just gonna pull this out. And it's easier, in my opinion, to use this for the night hot than it is the hot goods for the Miller method, because on those you're grabbing wax and it's a little bit, it's not as stable as the plastic. So you're just gonna take this and you're gonna hang it in your other, like maybe you're doing a split. So you're attaching it to another frame or just hang it in between the frames, or like you can do like, because it has a plastic ridge here, you can just shove it into the wax on that frame and it sticks really well.
Just put it in nice.
Yeah, just get it in there somehow. I mean,
Take some wax and hold it.
Yeah.
Take that in, if you need to, but. Yeah. And these, like I said, these are pretty easy to move. You can get these, roller cages. If you have this. The way this one works, this makes it super easy. You have. This, you have to, there's little holes in it, in the base of this. And you can nail them and attach this to bars. And then you grab into this little thing, just sits on top. You grab into this. And then after it gets capped off, you put this roller cage over it. No, I can't do this. Put this roller cage over it. And now, two things. One, super easy to make because you just pull. Sorry, no, it's not, you pull it off. And now your queen cells encapsulated in this. So now super easy to transport because it's protected. Okay, you're not gonna accidentally snap shit with it. The other great thing is if you mess up on which day is which, or you've got a queen that emerges a little bit earlier than the other ones or whatever, she's stuck in here. She can't get out. But these can still be virgin. So your virgin queens will be trapped in here. And so you can let them hatch in here without any issues and registries. So that's another way you can move them around. What's that called? Roller cage.
Roller cage.
Yeah. They're not super easy. I can't remember where I found them. Do they have any on these? Yeah. Okay. Okay. This kind of thing I like because, if I have a colony, like last year I experimented with just taking a frame of small, larvae and sticking it in a 2-frame mating loop with a frame of resources and let them do their thing. And they built out like probably 6 or 8 queen cells on the face of the frame. And then I just popped this in around the queen cell. And my queens emerged and they were stuck in here. And so I got like 6 queens out of a 2-frame mating loop. Totally easy. And literally all I did was move a frame into a 2-frame mating loop. And then when they start building out their queen cells, you just cage off the queen cells. And then your queens are stuck. Yeah.
So you're calling, is that what, did you call that a finishing line? I'm trying to get those terminology.
Yeah.
Started.
Yeah, I guess.
Because you're finishing the growth of the queen.
Yeah.
Not in your starter, but in another one.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, that's kind of a whole starter. It's not really a method, it's just something I made up, but it works.
The Jana method.
You know.
In the next presentation.
There's all kinds of little doodles you can get. You can get queen castles. On the next slide, there's these little styrofoam doodles you can get on Amazon. I haven't had good luck with these drawing out wax and these tiny little things, but queen, commercial queen producers use these a lot. And they just go around and they shape nurse these from hundreds of colonies into a big tub. And then they go through with a 1-cup measuring cup and they scoop them out of here. They dump a cup of these into this and they put their queen cell in there and they're done. I haven't found it to be super great, but I don't also have a good populations. So. So that's a mini nuke. You can also put them in a regular nuke. Or you can take that queen cell, throw your mating queen, and put it straight into something. If you're putting your a baby coming in, you're gonna wanna use some kind of web page. You're not just gonna wanna dump her in because they accept it. I think that's it.
Yeah.